Section 4 of Samson Agonistes. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Martin Geeson. Samson Agonistes by John Milton. Section 4. Manoah, Samson. Chorus. Be penitent, and for thy fault contrite, but act not in thy own affliction, son. Repent the sin, but if the punishment thou canst avoid, self-preservation bids. Or the execution leave to high disposal, and let another hand, not thine, exact thy penal forfeit from thyself. Perhaps God will relent, and quit thee all his debt, who evermore approves and more accepts, best pleased with humble and filial submission, him who imploring mercy sues for life, than who self-rigorous chooses death as due, which argues over-just, and self-displeased for self-offence, more than for God offended. Reject not then what offered means, who knows but God hath set before us, to return thee home to thy country, and his sacred house where thou mayst bring thy offerings, to avert his further ire with prayers and vows renewed. His pardon I implore, but as for life, to what end should I seek it, when in strength all mortals I excelled, and great in hopes with youthful courage and magnanimous thoughts of birth from heaven foretold, and high exploits, full of divine instinct, after some proof of acts indeed heroic, far beyond the sons of Anak, famous now and blazed, fearless of danger, like a petty god I walked about admired of all, and dreaded on hostile ground, none daring my affront. Then, swollen with pride, into the snare I fell of fair fallacious looks, venereal trains, softened with pleasure and voluptuous life, at length to lay my head and hallowed pledge of all my strength in the lascivious lap of a deceitful concubine, who shore me like a tame wether all my precious fleece, then turned me out ridiculous, despoiled, shaven, and disarmed among my enemies. Desire of wine and all delicious drinks, which many a famous warrior overturns, thou couldst repress, nor did the dancing ruby sparkling outpowered the flavour or the smell or taste that cheers the hearts of gods and men, allure thee from the cool crystalline stream. Wherever fountain or fresh current flowed against the eastern ray, translucent, pure, with touch ethereal of heaven's fiery rod, I drank, from the clear milky juice allaying thirst, and refreshed, nor envied them the grape whose heads that turbulent liquor fills with fumes. O madness, to think use of strongest wines and strongest drinks our chief support of health, when God with these forbidden made choice to rear his mighty champion, strong above compare, whose drink was only from the liquid brook. But what availed this temperance, not complete against another object more enticing? What boots it at one gate to make defence, and at another to let in the foe effeminately vanquished? By which means, now blind, disheartened, shamed, dishonoured, quelled, to what can I be useful, wherein serve my nation, and the work from heaven imposed, but to sit idle on the household hearth, a burdenous drone? To visitants a gaze or pitied object, these redundant locks, robustious to no purpose, clustering down, vain monument of strength, till length of years and sedentary numbness craze my limbs to a contemptible old age obscure. Here rather let me drudge and earn my bread, till vermin or the draught of servile food consume me, and oft invocated death hasten the welcome end of all my pains. Wilt thou then serve the Philistines with that gift which was expressly given thee to annoy them? Better at home lie bedrid, not only idle, inglorious, unemployed, with age outworn, but God, who caused a fountain at thy prayer from the dry ground to spring, thy thirst to allay after the brunt of battle, can as easy cause light again within thy eyes to spring, wherewith to serve him better than thou hast. And I persuade me so. Why else this strength miraculous, yet remaining in those locks? His might continues in thee, not for naught, nor shall his wondrous gifts be frustrate thus. All otherwise to me my thoughts portend, that these dark orbs no more shall treat with light, nor the other light of life continue long, but yield to double darkness nigh at hand. So much I feel my genial spirits droop, my hopes all flat, nature within me seems in all her functions weary of herself, my race of glory run, and race of shame, and I shall shortly be with them that rest. Believe not these suggestions, which proceed from anguish of the mind and humours black that mingle with thy fancy. I, however, must not omit a father's timely care to prosecute the means of thy deliverance, by ransom or how else. Meanwhile be calm, and healing words from these thy friends admit. Oh, that torment should not be confined to the body's wounds and sores, with maladies innumerable in heart, head, breast, and reins, but must secret passage find to the inmost mind, there exercise all his fierce accidents, and on her purest spirits prey, as on entrails, joints, and limbs, with answerable pains, but more intense, though void of corporal sense. My griefs not only pain me as a lingering disease, but finding no redress, ferment and rage, nor less than wounds immedicable rankle and fester and gangrene to black mortification. Thoughts, my tormentors, armed with deadly stings, mangle my apprehensive tenderest parts, exasperate, exulcerate, and raise dire inflammation, which no cooling herb or medicinal liquor can assuage, nor breath of vernal air from snowy Alp. Sleep hath forsook and given me o'er to death's benumbing opium as my only cure. Thence faintings, swoonings of despair, and sense of heaven's desertion. I was his nursling once, and choice delight, his destined from the womb, promised by heavenly message twice descending. Under his special eye abstemious I grew up and thrived amain. He led me on to mightiest deeds, above the nerve of mortal arm against the uncircumcised, our enemies. But now hath cast me off as never known, and to those cruel enemies, whom I by his appointment had provoked, left me all helpless with the irreparable loss of sight, reserved alive to be repeated the subject of their cruelty or scorn. Nor am I in the list of them that hope. Hopeless are all my evils, all remediless. This one prayer yet remains, might I be heard, no long petition, speedy death, the close of all my miseries, and the balm. Many are the sayings of the wise, in ancient and in modern books enrolled, extolling patience as the truest fortitude, and to the bearing well of all calamities, all chances incident to man's frail life, consolatories writ with studied argument, and much persuasion sought lenient of grief and anxious thought. But with the afflicted in his pangs, their sound little prevails, or rather seems a tune, harsh and of dissonant mood from his complaint, unless he feel within some source of consolation from above, secret refreshings that repair his strength, and fainting spirits uphold. God of our fathers, what is man, that thou towards him with hand so various, or might I say contrarious, temperest thy providence through his short course, not evenly, as thou rulest the angelic orders and inferior creatures mute, irrational, and brute. Nor do I name of men the common rout, that wandering loose about, grow up and perish as the summer fly, heads without name, no more remembered, but such as thou hast solemnly elected, with gifts and graces eminently adorned to some great work, thy glory, and people's safety, which in part they effect. Yet toward these thus dignified, thou oft amidst their height of noon changest thy countenance, and thy hand, with no regard of highest favours past from thee on them, or them to thee of service, nor only dost degrade them, or remit to life obscured, which were a fair dismission, but throw'st them lower than thou didst exalt them high, unseemly falls in human eye, too grievous for the trespass or omission, oft leav'st them to the hostile sword of heathen and profane, their carcasses to dogs and fowls a prey, or else captived, or to the unjust tribunals under change of times, and condemnation of the ingrateful multitude. If these they scape, perhaps in poverty with sickness and disease thou bow'st them down, painful diseases, and deformed in crude old age. Though not disordinate, yet causeless suffering, the punishment of dissolute days, in fine, just or unjust, alike seem miserable, for oft alike both come to evil end. So deal not with this once thy glorious champion, the image of thy strength, and mighty minister. What do I beg? How hast thou dealt already? Behold him in this state calamitous, and turn his labours, for thou canst, to peaceful end. But who is this? What thing of sea or land? Female of sex, it seems, that so bedecked, ornate, and gay, comes this way sailing like a stately ship of Tarsus, bound for the isles of Javan or Gadir, with all her bravery on, and tackle trim, sails filled, and streamers waving, courted by all the winds that hold them play, an amber scent of odorous perfume her harbinger, a damsel train behind, some rich Philistian matron she may seem, and now at nearer view, no other certain than Dalila thy wife. My wife, my traitress, let her not come near me. Yet on she moves, now stands and eyes thee fixed, about to have spoke, but now with head declined, like a fair flower surcharged with dew, she weeps, and words addressed seem into tears dissolved, wetting the borders of her silken veil. But now again she makes address to speak. End of Section 4. Recording by Martin Geeson in Hazelmere, Surrey.